Okay, let's dive into something that's, well, getting a lot of buzz as potentially powering a big part of the Web3 future, the G token.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been looking through the documentation, the details they've put out, really trying to get a handle on what this token is and what role it's actually playing.
And our goal here, it's pretty straightforward, but, really important if you want to understand these spaces. We're going to unpack what G is,
hmm
what forms it takes, how it connects different ecosystems, specifically Gravity and Galxes, and the specific ways it's used day to day.
Yeah, because it's not just some theoretical thing. It's positioned right at the heart of both of those environments.
So at its core, what is the G token?
Well, think of it like it has two identities almost. It's the native token on the Gravity network itself,
Okay, native to Gravity.
and it's the main utility token for both Gravity and the Galxe ecosystem. It serves double duty.
And getting here involved a change, right? It wasn't always G. There was the GAL token before.
That's right. The shift from GAL to G, that was a pretty big deal. It actually went through votes, proposals within the Galxe DAO community. They had to approve it.
And why make that change? What was the thinking?
The main goal really was simplification and unification. Bring everything together under one token, streamline the experience for users across both platforms, get a simpler ticker symbol, just make the whole user journey smoother. G is meant to be that universal connector.
Okay, the universal connector. Makes sense. So what does it do? What are its main jobs, according to the materials we looked at?
The docs lay out a few key functions. G powers transactions. It's set up to secure the network via staking. It's used for governance, incentivizing growth, and also, crucially, for payments.
Let's break those down. First up, transacting or gas. How does that work?
So on the Gravity chain specifically, G is the native gas token, full stop, meaning every single transaction, anything you do on that chain, you need G to pay for it. It's like the gasoline for the Gravity network engine.
Got it. And staking, you mentioned security there.
Yeah, exactly. By staking your G, you can actively help secure the network. But it's not just security. It's also about participating in governance.
Ah, okay.
It contributes to the long-term health, the sustainability, really, of both ecosystems. And interestingly, the docs mentioned that G stakers might get access to exclusive rewards, often from apps built by Galxe partners.
So staking links security with potential ecosystem benefits.
Precisely. It ties it all together.
Then governance.
Yep.
This gives token holders a say.
That's the idea. There's the GDAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. It's governed by people holding G.
Right.
The documentation paints it as, a transparent, secure, decentralized way to guide how things develop. If you hold G, you get a vote on that direction.
Okay, makes sense. And the last one, payments. This sounds like where the Galxe side comes heavily into play.
Yes, absolutely. This is a huge utility within the Galxe ecosystem. You use G to pay fees for a lot of the core applications Galxe has built.
Like what, for example?
The sources list things like Galxe Quest, Galxe Passport, Galxe Score, Alva. There are others too. If you're a heavy user of those Galxe services, you'll definitely be using G for payments.
So G is doing all these jobs, but where does it actually live? You said native on Gravity, but it's not only there, is it?
No, definitely not. And that's crucial for how it works across different chains. It actually exists in a few different forms.
Okay, walk us through those.
So first, like we said, it's the native token on the Gravity Alpha mainnet. That's its layer 2 home, you could say.
Native on the L2. Got it. But we also see it on places like Ethereum, right?
Exactly. It also exists as an ERC20 token.
Yeah.
For anyone less familiar, ERC20 is just the common technical standard for tokens on Ethereum and chains like it.
The main standard, yeah.
On those networks, the token's name is Gravity, symbol is G, and it has 18 decimals, which is pretty standard. They even provide the specific contract address. Let me find it. Yeah, 0x9C70 or EF670, A60, F6643, 107 545A45B, E8387, EF260649. You can look that up on Etherscan or similar explorers.
Okay, ERC20 on Ethereum and compatible chains. How does the supply work then if it exists in multiple places? That always seems complicated.
It can be, yeah. So the initial total supply was stated as 12 billion G. Originally, that was kind of earmarked as 10 billion for the ERC20 networks and 2 billion for the Gravity Alpha mainnet.
Okay.
But the interesting part is that the supply in the L2 isn't fixed, it's dynamic.
Yeah.
The latest figures reported show a total supply across everywhere around 11.5 billion G. But the amount actually on the L2 fluctuates based on bridging activity. The baseline L2 supply reported is about 480 million G, plus whatever users have bridged over.
Wait, hold on. So the amount of G sitting on the Gravity L2 actually changes. People move it back and forth.
Exactly. The number of G tokens bridged from, say, Ethereum to the Gravity L2 is constantly changing. It's dynamic.
Okay. And what about chains where there isn't a native G or an ERC20 version? How does it exist there?
Good question. For those, they use something called the LayerZero OFT standard. OFT stands for Omni-Chain Fungible Token.
OFT.
Right. On those chains, you'll see it listed differently, like Gravity Token G, OFT, with the symbol G OFT. The key thing here is it's not minted beforehand on those chains. It only gets minted when needed, specifically when you bridge G over from Ethereum Mainnet.
So it's minted on demand for those other chains.
Precisely. And the docs even give examples of how many block confirmations are needed for bridging, like 15 blocks going from Ethereum to Polygon, but maybe 512 going back the other way. It shows there's a process.
Yeah.
This whole layered approach lets G spread out across more networks.
Okay, that makes sense. Different forms for different networks. So how does it actually move between them? Bridging seems to be the core mechanism here.
It absolutely is. Bridging is what connects these separate pools of G. The documentation explicitly mentions bridging between networks like BNB Chain, Ethereum, Base, and of course the Gravity Alpha mainnet.
And let's focus on bridging to the Gravity L2. If I send G from Ethereum to Gravity, what's happening technically, like under the hood?
Right. So when you bridge G to the Gravity Alpha mainnet, the tokens you started with on Ethereum aren't, like, destroyed. Instead, they get locked inside a specific smart contract on Ethereum.
Locked up.
Yeah. They use the Arbitrum standard ERC20 gateway technology for this, and they give the address for that lock contract too. 0x7983403 D8 3671459 B81C5 C51TX 364 C42.
Ah, okay. So that contract on Ethereum essentially holds the G that's now active or represented over on the L2.
Exactly, and that's the cool part. That's how you can actually see that dynamic L2 supply we talked about.
How so?
Well, if you just check the G token balance of that specific lock contract address on Ethereum,
Right.
that balance tells you in real time exactly how many G tokens have been bridged over and are currently circulating on the Gravity L2. It's all out there on chain.
That's pretty transparent. Okay, stepping back to the Galxe side for a moment. You mentioned payments for apps, but the sources pointed out a couple of other specific G utilities within the Galxe ecosystem.
Yeah, a couple of neat ones. First, there's the Galxe shop.
Galxe shop, what's that?
It's a feature where you can shop online at various regular merchants, but instead of getting traditional points or maybe fiat cash back, you earn cash back paid out in G tokens.
Oh, interesting. So buy stuff online, get G back.
Exactly. It's pitched as a way to seamlessly integrate earning crypto into just, everyday online shopping, kind of a tangible use case.
Yeah, definitely tangible. And the other one was Galxe Earn.
Right. This ties back into staking G. The idea is that if you're staking G, you might become eligible for exclusive airdrops directly from projects partnering with Galxe.
Ah, so rewards for stakers beyond just network security.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It apparently uses the Galxe Quest system to make this happen. It's framed as a way for projects to directly engage with the G community and distribute rewards maybe more effectively or targetedly.
Okay, so we know what G is, where it is, how it moves, what it does. The obvious next question for anyone listening is, how do you actually get some G?
Yep. Fundamental question.
Yeah.
The sources list the usual suspects, really. You can apparently buy G directly using a credit card through certain providers. You can get it on various supported, centralized crypto exchanges, the big platforms.
Standard exchanges, right?
You can acquire it on-chain using decentralized exchanges or DX aggregators. And potentially, if you have funds in certain vaults, you might be able to withdraw G from those. Pretty standard ways to get a token.
And for people who like to dig deeper, developers, analysts, that sort of thing, are there tools or more info available?
Yes, they do mention a few things. There's an API available if you want to programmatically get the current G supply figures.
Useful for tracking.
Definitely. There's also apparently a detailed token release schedule, which outlines how the token supply enters circulation over time.
Important for understanding tokenomics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And critically, things like the specific contract addresses, who owns or controls certain admin functions, transaction details, all that is publicly available on block explorers. So there's a decent level of transparency there for verification.
All right, let's try and wrap this up then. If we boil it all down, what are the absolute must-know takeaways about the G token from this deep dive?
I think the main thing is its role as this single unifying force across two quite different but linked ecosystems, Gravity and
What a
Galxe.
connector.
Right. And its design allows it to do multiple jobs at once.
Ugh.
It's the basic fuel, the gas needed for the gravity chain.
Low-level stuff.
Yeah, fundamental. But it's also used for higher level things, like paying for services in Galxe, participating in governance, and even earning rewards through staking your shopping. It spans that whole range.
And its multi-chain nature is obviously key to that whole strategy.
Oh, absolutely essential. The fact that it exists natively on the L2 as an ERC20, as an OFT, that plus the bridging that ties it all together isn't just some technical footnote.
It's core to the function.
It is the function in many ways. It's how G acts as that bridge and how value can actually flow between these different parts of their Web3 world. Honestly, if you understand G, you get a much better picture of the plumbing and the incentives driving these specific ecosystems. And it's a pretty good case study for how utility tokens are evolving for a multi-chain reality.
Yeah, it really makes you think. When you see one token acting as gas here, paying for apps there, being earned through shopping, living on multiple networks with a supply that literally moves between them, what does that tell us, looking forward? How might value flow in the future? How interconnected could things get if models like this take off and scale? Definitely leaves you with something to mull over about where Web3 utility might be headed.